The restaurant was buzzing that Saturday afternoon, sunlight spilling through the large glass windows, laughter echoing between polished tables and clinking glasses. But amid the cheerful chaos, one quiet corner stood out. A man with tired eyes and a little girl clutching a tattered pink bunny, both eating in silence. No phone, no noise, no rush. Just quiet. Across the room, at a table of 6 co-workers celebrating a birthday, Mara Sloan noticed them and rolled her eyes. "He's just sitting there like a statue," she whispered loudly enough for her friends to hear. "Poor kid. Bet he doesn't even know how to talk to her. Some people shouldn't be parents." A ripple of laughter followed, feeding her sense of superiority. Mara was used to being the loudest voice, the one people listened to. Confidence had always been her armor, and judgment her weapon. But she couldn't have known that the man she mocked, Evan Reese, a quiet, widowed father, would, within minutes, do something that would change her life forever. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel, Kind of Heart. Your support helps us spread stories that touch the soul. Mara was in her early 30s, a marketing executive who believed life was about winning, about being seen, admired, envied. She wore success like perfume, and she liked to remind others of it. Her co-workers adored her sharp wit, but few saw the loneliness underneath it all. The empty apartment, the silent evenings, the unopened messages from her estranged mother. That day, as she sipped her second glass of wine, she found herself staring again at the quiet man. His clothes were plain, almost too simple. His daughter's hair wasn't perfectly brushed. Her dress had a tiny tear near the seam. "He looks like he's barely holding it together," Mara muttered to her friend, pretending to pity him. Maybe his wife left him. No wonder. But Evan wasn't listening. He was gently cutting up his daughter's chicken tenders, making sure she ate enough, then wiping her hands with a napkin. Every motion was soft, patient, almost reverent. His daughter Lila smiled at him, her gap-toothed grin brighter than the sunshine outside. "Thank you, Daddy," she whispered. And Evan smiled back, a tired but wholehearted smile that carried the kind of love Mara hadn't felt in years. Still, Mara couldn't stop herself. The more she watched, the more she mocked. Maybe it made her feel better. Maybe it was just habit. But fate, as it often does, had been listening. The group finished eating, laughter filling the air as they prepared to leave. The waiter brought the bill, and Mara excused herself to the restroom before paying her share. As she walked back, she noticed Evan and Leela standing near the door. The little girl was showing her father something in her hand, a tiny blue rock she'd found in the parking lot earlier. Evan smiled softly, took her hand, and they stepped outside. That's when everything changed. As Mara reached the restaurant entrance, she heard a scream, a loud, piercing scream that sliced through the casual afternoon chatter. She looked up and froze. Across the street, a car had lost control. The driver had tried to swerve around a delivery truck, but overcorrected, barreling straight toward the restaurant patio, straight toward her. In those suspended seconds, time fractured. The car's engine roared, tires screeched, and Mara's body refused to move. She dropped her purse, frozen in terror. But before her mind could even register the danger, she felt a strong force hit her from the side, a blur of motion, of arms wrapping around her, pulling her out of the car's deadly path. The impact came with a deafening crash, glass shattering, screams erupting. When it was over, Mara was on the ground, trembling, her heart pounding against her ribs. Beside her, dust and smoke filled the air. Someone was groaning in pain. It was him, Evan Reese. He had shoved her out of harm's way, taking the hit himself. His arm was bleeding, his face pale, his breathing shallow. Leela was crying nearby, her bunny clutched tight. Mara's voice cracked. "Oh my God! Oh my God, you saved me!" Her words stumbled over tears. The paramedics arrived minutes later, sirens wailing. People crowded around, phones out, murmuring. Mara couldn't stop shaking. The man she had mocked, humiliated without a thought, had risked his life to save hers. She wanted to apologize, to scream, to undo what she'd said, but all she could do was hold his hand as he was lifted onto the stretcher. His eyes fluttered open for a moment, calm and gentle, even through the pain. "Are you okay?" he whispered. That question shattered her completely. Evan survived. A fractured rib, a concussion, and a deep gash across his arm. The doctors said it could have been much worse if not for his quick reflexes. The car had missed Mara by mere inches, crashing into the outer wall where she had been standing seconds before. Mara visited him the next day in the hospital, flowers trembling in her hands. She barely recognized herself in the mirror that morning, puffy eyes, no makeup, humility etched into every line of her face. When she walked into his room, he looked up, surprised but not unkind. Lila was sitting by his bedside, coloring in a book. Mara couldn't stop the tears. "I don't know what to say," she began, voice trembling. "I said horrible things about you, and you still saved me." Evan smiled faintly, though his eyes carried the weight of loss. "I don't hold it against you," he said softly. "People don't always see the full story." Something inside Mara cracked open at those words. She felt small, fragile, human, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. They talked quietly for a while, and in that stillness, Mara learned that Evan was a widower. His wife had passed away 2 years ago from cancer, leaving him to raise Lila alone. He worked nights at a repair shop, took care of her during the day, and never complained. He had come to that restaurant simply to give his daughter a small treat, their first dad and daughter dinner in weeks. Mara left the hospital that evening with tears streaming down her cheeks and a heart heavy with guilt and gratitude. She couldn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, not when he was quiet and awkward at dinner, but when he was lying on the ground, bleeding, asking if she was okay. In the days that followed, she visited often. Sometimes she brought books for Lila, other times just sat quietly, helping Evan with small things. Slowly, the visits turned into conversations about life, about loss, about forgiveness. Mara found herself opening up about her own emptiness, her broken relationship with her mother, her endless chase for approval. Evan listened, truly listened the way few ever had. It wasn't pity he offered, but understanding. Weeks later, when he was discharged, Mara offered him a ride home. His apartment was modest walls, decorated with Lila's crayon art, a few photos of his late wife, a shelf stacked with children's books. It wasn't grand, but it was warm. For the first time in years, Mara felt peace, just sitting there. Over time, their connection deepened. Mara became like family to Lila, often joining them for dinner, helping with school projects, and learning what it meant to care without condition. Evan, in turn, helped Mara rediscover humility, patience, and joy in the simplest things like cooking together or watching Lila's favorite cartoons. Months later, during a community dinner event, Mara found herself standing on a small stage, speaking to a crowd. The local paper had covered the accident and how Evan's quick action had saved her life. But instead of focusing on that, she spoke about change. "I used to think strength was about standing above others," she said, voice steady but emotional. "But that day taught me something far more powerful. Real strength is quiet. It's kindness when the world gives you cruelty. It's choosing compassion even for those who don't deserve it." I mocked a man I didn't know, and that same man saved me without hesitation. Because that's who he is. That's who I want to be. The room erupted in quiet applause, some wiping tears. Evan stood in the back, Lila holding his hand, both smiling softly. Life moved forward not with fireworks, but with warmth. Mara and Evan became inseparable friends first, and eventually something deeper bloomed between them, slow, genuine, unforced. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was something real, something earned. Years later, as the sun set, over the same restaurant where it all began, Mara watched Lila, now older, laugh over ice cream. She looked at Evan and smiled. "Funny how life works," she whispered. "I thought I was too good for you once. Turns out, you were exactly what I needed to become good again." Evan chuckled softly. "Sometimes the people who need saving don't even realize they're the ones standing in the middle of the road," he said. And Mara knew he was right. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kind of Heart. Every click helps us bring more stories of love, redemption, and hope to life. Special request: comment below. Kindness changes everything. If you believe that one small act of compassion can heal even the deepest wounds. Because sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest lessons. And sometimes the ones we least expect end up saving us in ways we never imagined.